Princess Lyra of the Aquilari had always felt different from those around her. Her home planet, Aquila 9, floated among sapphire blue clouds and vast oceans of liquid crystal. The Aquilari were known across the galaxy for their elegance, intelligence, and long lifespans. Their society had a rule. When a princess reached the age of maturity, she had to choose a life partner. Usually this meant marrying a suitor from another planet to strengthen alliances. Lyra had reached that age. She was 25 standard cycles old, which was considered the perfect age for a royal match. However, despite the countless alien suitors who had come forward, none had been chosen. The council chambers buzzed with whispers as ambassadors from distant worlds leaned forward in their floating seats. One by one they had presented themselves before the princess, each with their own dazzling achievements and powerful claims. Some had powers Lyra could barely understand: telepathy, control over elements, or fleets of starships ready to conquer entire star systems. Yet none of them felt right. First came Ambassador Thryn of the Volcari, a towering being of molten rock and fire. His eyes glowed like lava and his voice rumbled like distant thunder. He presented himself with pride, promising Lyra loyalty, strength, and power. "Princess Lyra," he said, "I can guarantee your world will rise to the greatest heights under my guidance. Our alliance will make Aquila 9 feared across the stars." Lyra bowed politely but shook her head. "Your power is impressive, Ambassador Thryn," she said gently, "but I seek more than strength. I need understanding, not fear," the council murmured. Many considered her decision strange. Fear and power were what kept planets safe, after all. Next came Ambassador Varric of the Zephyrians, a sleek, winged species known for their speed and intelligence. His feathers shimmered in rainbow hues, and his mind could calculate entire battle strategies in seconds. Yet when he spoke, it was all about tactics and conquest. "With me, Princess, your enemies will never stand a chance. Your world will become a jewel in the galaxy's crown." Again, Lyra politely declined. She admired his intelligence, but she felt no connection. Something important was missing. One by one, suitors arrived, each from different worlds with unique powers, beauty, or wealth. But Lyra could not find one who shared her curiosity about the universe, who listened to her thoughts and dreams, who could see her not just as a princess, but as a person. Days turned into weeks. The council grew restless. In their eyes, Lyra's refusal to choose a partner was becoming a problem. A royal princess unchosen was almost unheard of. Gossip spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Some whispered that Lyra was too picky. Others said perhaps she would never find a partner at all. Lyra, however, was not worried. She spent her days walking along the floating gardens of her palace, staring at the twin moons rising above the crystal oceans. She read books about distant stars, studied ancient alien languages, and dreamed about worlds she had never visited. She wondered if somewhere out there someone existed who could truly understand her, not just as a princess, but as a being capable of thought, curiosity, and compassion. Her closest advisor, Mailer, watched her with concern. Mailer was old, with deep wrinkles etched into his crystalline skin. "Princess," he said one evening as they overlooked the glowing ocean, "the council grows impatient. They expect a decision soon. Your people are anxious. The galaxy whispers of scandal." Lyra shook her head gently. "I know, Mailer, but I cannot marry someone simply because they are strong or wealthy or clever. I will know when the right one comes. Until then, I will wait." Mailer sighed, but knew better than to argue. Lyra had always been strong-willed. That was part of what made her beloved among her people. One afternoon, an unusual message arrived from the Interstellar Embassy, a rare communication from a planet on the edge of known space. Earth. The humans, a young and small species compared to the ancient civilizations of the galaxy, had grown quickly in technology and curiosity. Their representatives were few, but they were bold. The message was brief, almost casual. "We wish to send an ambassador to meet Princess Lyra. He is interested in learning about Aquila 9. The council raised their eyebrows. An Earth human? From the rumors they had heard, humans were fragile, unpredictable, and unrefined. Most alien leaders dismissed them as insignificant. Yet curiosity stirred in Lyra. She had never met a human. What kind of being could they be? When Ambassador Jace arrived, he did not enter with grandeur or arrogance. He walked calmly into the chamber, dressed simply in the standard attire of his planet, a plain tunic and trousers. He had no wings, no glowing eyes, no technological enhancements. His appearance was utterly ordinary in the eyes of the alien council. Yet there was something in his gaze, curiosity, warmth, and intelligence that immediately caught Lyra's attention. "Princess Lyra," he said, bowing respectfully. "It is an honor to meet you. I have heard much about your wisdom and your love for knowledge." Lyra studied him carefully. Unlike the alien suitors, he did not boast of power or wealth. He spoke with humility, yet there was confidence in his voice. Something in his simplicity felt honest. The council erupted in quiet disapproval. "He is human," whispered one elder. "Do you see his small frame? His species is primitive. He cannot survive our trials, let alone guide a planet." Lyra ignored them. She found herself intrigued. "Tell me, Ambassador Jace," she said, leaning forward. "What brings you here?" "I wish to understand your world, Princess," Jace replied. "And I wish to learn from you. I do not come seeking power, only knowledge and friendship." Lyra smiled faintly. For the first time in weeks, a spark of excitement flickered in her heart. Perhaps this human could be different. Perhaps against all expectations, he might be someone she could truly connect with. As the days passed, Jace spent time in the palace, observing, asking questions, and sharing stories of his world. Lyra found his perspective refreshing. Unlike the alien suitors, he did not see life as a game of power or control. He marveled at the beauty of Aquila 9, asked questions about her people's culture, and treated her as an equal, not a prize. Other suitors tried to dismiss him. Ambassador Thryn sneered when he heard of Jace's presence. "A human? They are weak. This princess will regret ever considering him." Lyra, however, felt no fear. For the first time, she realized that the right partner might not come from those who seemed powerful or impressive. Sometimes the greatest strength came from a heart willing to listen, to learn, and to care. One evening, as twin moons rose over the ocean, Lyra walked alone along the floating gardens. She watched the reflection of the moons in the water and thought about the strange twist of fate that had brought a human into her life. Could this small, unassuming creature truly be the one who understood her? "I will wait," she whispered to herself, smiling. "I will see what comes of this. Human." The council chambers buzzed louder than usual that morning. The alien leaders of the galaxy had gathered, their forms floating elegantly above the crystalline floor. Some shimmered with metallic hues, others glowed faintly in the chamber's light. Every eye was on Princess Lyra, and more importantly on the human who had arrived uninvited in their centuries-old tradition. Jace stood at the entrance, calm but aware of the stares. His presence alone challenged the expectations of the council. Many whispered that humans were fragile, unprepared, and naive, yet he stepped forward with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced far stranger challenges on his own planet. "Princess Lyra," Jace said, bowing respectfully, "I have come to understand your world, your people, and to offer my friendship. I do not come seeking power or glory, only knowledge and connection." The council erupted with murmurs and hushed debates. Ambassador Thryn, the towering molten rock being, leaned forward, his glowing eyes fixed on Jace. "Knowledge? Friendship?" he rumbled. "A human? Do you see this being? They are soft, weak, and untested. A princess of Aquila 9 cannot risk her future with this." Lyra's gaze, however, remained steady. She had watched Jace over the past week. She had seen his curiosity, his care, and the way he listened. Unlike the alien suitors, he did not boast or threaten. He was honest. "I will not choose someone merely for strength or status," Lyra said, her voice calm but firm. "I seek someone who can walk with me as an equal." Perhaps against all expectations, a human can do that. Gasps echoed across the chamber. The council's rules had never accounted for a human stepping forward as a suitor. The ambassadors began to whisper among themselves. Some were outraged, others incredulous. Ambassador Varric, the winged Zephyrian, flapped his iridescent wings angrily. "This is absurd." "Princess Lyra, a human cannot survive our trials. They are untested in endurance, intellect, and strategy. Choosing this fragile creature will bring shame to your house." Lyra raised her hand. "Enough, I will decide, not the council. If a human wishes to be considered, let them undergo the same trials as all other suitors." A silence fell. The council members exchanged uncertain glances. No human had ever attempted the suitor trials before. They were designed to challenge every skill an alien might possess: intelligence, endurance, adaptability, diplomacy, and courage. Many species had failed, even those far more advanced than humans. Jace met Lyra's eyes and nodded. "I am ready, Princess." The first trial took place on the floating platform above the palace oceans. It tested intelligence and adaptability. A holographic labyrinth projected before the suitors, filled with alien symbols, shifting walls and puzzles that no human mind had ever encountered. The other suitors approached confidently, relying on their advanced cognition or alien senses. Thryn tried to manipulate the labyrinth with his molten abilities, attempting to burn a path through the shifting walls. The labyrinth responded unpredictably, and molten streams clashed with force fields, sending him back several steps. Varric calculated angles and speeds, attempting to fly through openings with precision. Yet the labyrinth constantly shifted, making his calculations ineffective. Jace, however, studied the symbols carefully. He observed patterns that others ignored, repetitions, subtle clues, and connections between elements. He did not rush. Instead, he moved deliberately, testing paths, learning from failures, and adapting. Slowly but steadily, he navigated the labyrinth, surprising the council and alien observers alike. Princess Lyra watched in quiet admiration. The human did not rely on brute strength or alien enhancements. He relied on patience, observation, and thinking differently. By the time he emerged, the alien suitors were still trapped in confusion or frustration. "Interesting," Lyra whispered to herself. "He thinks in ways they cannot." The next trial was physical endurance set on the volcanic plains of Aquila 9's twin moon. The terrain was extreme: molten rivers, jagged obsidian cliffs, and intense gravity shifts designed to test a being's strength and resilience. Thryn moved quickly. His molten body naturally adapted to heat and fire. He seemed unstoppable, surging ahead with confidence. Varric flitted through the air, but his wings began to tire in the thin lunar atmosphere. Many suitors struggled or fell. Jace approached the terrain cautiously. His human body was fragile in comparison, yet he moved with care, using tools, calculating steps and conserving energy. When a molten river blocked his path, he found a clever way to redirect a stream using reflective minerals nearby, allowing him to cross safely. Where others relied on raw power, he relied on creativity. Lyra's heart lifted. She had expected a human to fail, yet he moved forward with intelligence and courage, never panicking despite the dangerous landscape. The third trial tested diplomacy and understanding. The suitors were sent to a neutral alien planet, home to a species that communicated entirely through light and color. The task was to negotiate peacefully with the species to retrieve a rare artifact without causing offense. Many suitors struggled. Thryn tried intimidation. Varric attempted to manipulate them with logic and strategy. Both approaches failed. Jace, however, observed patiently. He mimicked the colors, noticed subtle shifts, and responded with gestures of respect and curiosity. Slowly, the alien species warmed to him. By showing humility and willingness to understand, he gained their trust and retrieved the artifact without confrontation. Lyra's admiration grew. She had never seen anyone approach challenges with such balance, patience, ingenuity, and empathy. Despite these successes, not all were pleased. Several alien ambassadors whispered of sabotage, plotting to ensure Jace failed the upcoming trials. Some even tried to trick him with false information or dangerous paths. Yet Jace met each challenge calmly, using reasoning and caution. His human determination refused to let him fail. Back at the palace, Lyra walked among her gardens, reflecting on what she had seen. "This human," she thought, "is unlike any being I have ever met. He is honest, clever, and brave. He does not claim to be superior, yet he succeeds where the proudest fail. Perhaps he is what I have been waiting for." Malor, observing her, nodded. "Princess, your intuition has guided you well. He is untested in our eyes, but his spirit is remarkable. Very few beings, alien or otherwise, show such resilience and wisdom." The council could not ignore it any longer. Jace had passed the first 3 trials, each one thought impossible for a human. The alien suitors were visibly frustrated, their pride wounded. Some began to respect him secretly, while others plotted ways to reclaim their status. Finally, Lyra addressed the council. "This human has proven himself through intellect, courage, and empathy. I will continue to observe him in the remaining trials, but I see now what I suspected. True strength does not only come from power or skill. It comes from the heart and mind together, A murmur spread among the ambassadors. Some nodded reluctantly, others scowled, but none could deny the truth. Jace had exceeded all expectations. As evening fell, Lyra and Jace walked along the palace's crystal balcony. The twin moons reflected in the ocean below, casting silver light across their faces. "You have surprised everyone," Lyra said softly.
"Even me," Jace smiled.
"I only try to do my best. I do not seek to impress anyone, Princess. I wish only to understand, to learn, and to walk with those who value trust and honesty." Lyra's eyes softened. "That is rare in this galaxy. Most beings seek power, status, or glory. You do not. That is why you are different." Jace's gaze met hers. "Perhaps being different is not a weakness, but a chance to show another way forward." Lyra nodded. A spark of hope ignited within her. For centuries, the galaxy had relied on strength, cunning, and tradition. Yet here was a human who dared to defy expectation, not through force, but through mind, heart, and courage. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath as the next trials were announced. These were the most difficult tests yet, designed not just to measure intelligence or courage, but adaptability, leadership, and the ability to survive extreme conditions. The alien suitors were confident. They had already seen Jace succeed in earlier trials, yet they believed the coming challenges would finally prove humans' limitations. Princess Lyra watched silently from the council chamber balcony as the suitors prepared. She felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Jace had already surprised everyone, including her, but she wondered, could he withstand the ultimate tests of the galaxy? The first of the final trials took place on the frozen planet of GalacticPrime. Its surface stretched endlessly, a glittering expanse of ice and snow. The winds were fierce, carrying particles sharp as blades. The test was simple to describe, but brutal in practice. Reach the summit of the towering Frostspire mountain and retrieve the crystalline flame, a rare artifact kept at the peak. Most alien suitors stepped forward confidently, assuming their natural abilities would give them an advantage. Varric of the Zephyrians tried to fly directly up the mountain, wings beating against icy gales. His feathers froze and he slipped, nearly falling into the abyss. Thryn of the Volcari attempted to melt the ice with his molten body, but the artifact was shielded by an ancient energy field that resisted his flames. One by one, suitors struggled, showing that raw power or speed was not enough. Jace approached carefully. The cold bit at his skin, and the winds threatened to knock him off balance. His human body was small and vulnerable, but he did not panic. He studied the mountain, observing natural formations and patterns in the ice. Using simple tools he had carried, he created footholds and supports, leveraging the environment rather than fighting it. Slowly, step by step, he climbed. The alien council members watching were stunned. No human had ever survived Frostspire Mountain. Many expected him to fail and feared he might perish. Yet through patience, intelligence, and determination, Jace reached the peak and retrieved the crystalline flame. He held it aloft, not with arrogance, but with quiet pride. Princess Lyra felt a thrill of admiration.
"He does not just survive," she whispered.
"He adapts, he learns, he grows." The next trial tested diplomacy and empathy. The suitors were sent to the jungle planet of Iridia, home to a highly intelligent but secretive species called the Sylphari. The Sylphari communicated through harmonic tones that resonated through the jungle. The task: negotiate with the Sylphari to gain permission to cross their territory without conflict. The alien suitors struggled immediately. Many tried to impose authority, using telepathy or intimidation to bend the Sylphari to their will. These tactics failed disastrously. Some suitors were chased away, others became trapped in the dense singing jungle. Jace approached cautiously, listening to the harmonic tones and observing the creatures' gestures. He did not attempt to control them. Instead, he matched their tones, showing respect and patience. Over time, he gained their trust. The Sylphari allowed him safe passage, and he returned with detailed maps of the jungle's treacherous paths. Lyra was increasingly impressed. "He does not try to dominate," she said to Mailer. "He listens. He understands. That is more powerful than any weapon." The third trial was one of courage. The Void Passage, a region of space littered with floating debris and deadly gravitational anomalies. Suitors had to navigate a small spacecraft through the treacherous field, reaching the floating station at the center without assistance. Many alien suitors relied on advanced technology. Their ships were large, heavily armed, and equipped with automated navigation systems. Yet in the chaos of the void passage, their computers struggled. Ships collided with debris, engines failed, and several were forced to retreat. Jace piloted a smaller, simpler craft. He could not rely on advanced automation, so he used intuition, observation, and calm decision-making. When debris threatened to crush his ship, he calculated angles and made daring maneuvers, narrowly avoiding disaster. Slowly, he reached the station, docking smoothly while many alien ships still floundered outside. The council murmured in disbelief. "A human navigates the void passage," one ambassador whispered. "Impossible." Lyra's heart swelled. She had begun to see clearly why she had been drawn to him. He was not the strongest, the fastest, or the most technologically advanced, but he had qualities far rarer in the galaxy: ingenuity, resilience, empathy, and courage. The final trial was perhaps the most dangerous: the trial of unity. The suitors were placed in a simulated crisis scenario, a collapsing space station orbiting a volatile star. They had to rescue civilians, stabilize the station, and prevent disaster. Success required teamwork, strategy, and the ability to adapt under pressure. Many suitors failed immediately. Some focused on saving themselves. Others relied on brute force, and a few attempted to manipulate the simulation rather than address the real problems. Chaos reigned as the alien suitors floundered. Jace approached calmly. He observed the simulation, delegating tasks when possible and improvising when the unexpected occurred. He saved civilians, repaired failing systems, and kept the situation from collapsing entirely. By the time the simulation ended, he had not only succeeded but had done so with compassion, prioritizing lives and showing leadership under pressure. Princess Lyra could hardly contain her admiration. "He is remarkable," she said quietly. "No one has ever approached challenges this way. He does not seek glory, only to do what is right." Even the alien suitors had to admit his skill. Some scowled in frustration, others nodded reluctantly, acknowledging that the human had accomplished what many thought impossible. Back on Aquila 9, Lyra walked with Jace along the palace gardens, the twin moons casting gentle light on the floating blossoms. "I watched everything," she said. "You have faced trials no human was ever meant to endure, yet you have adapted and succeeded. How do you do it?" Jace smiled, wiping frost from his sleeves after the first trial. "I take each challenge as it comes. I observe, learn, and try not to panic. I do my best and I keep going. That is all anyone can do." Lyra looked at him thoughtfully. "Your courage is not just in surviving. It is in your mind, your heart. You think differently from anyone I have met. That is why you succeed where others fail." Jace shrugged modestly. "Perhaps. Or perhaps humans are just used to being underestimated. We have to find ways to survive with what we have. Maybe that gives us a different kind of strength." Lyra laughed softly. "Perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needs." The alien council, meanwhile, was less amused. Some began to plot ways to discredit him before the final evaluations. Others wondered if the galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. The whispers grew louder. A human could challenge tradition. A human could change the balance of power. Lyra paid little attention to the politics. She was focused on what mattered most, understanding Jace, seeing his heart, and learning whether he could truly walk beside her as an equal. For the first time in her life, she felt a strange mix of excitement and hope, perhaps the one she had been waiting for. The partner who could truly understand her and share her vision was not from the proudest or most powerful alien species, but from the small, underestimated planet called Earth. As they walked, Jace glanced at her. "Princess Lyra, if I succeed in all these trials, will you consider me more than just a suitor? Will you see me as a partner, not for politics or tradition, but for who I am?" Lyra smiled, her eyes shining. "You have already proven more than any suitor ever could. Perhaps that is the true meaning of these trials, not to find who is strongest, but who is capable of understanding and walking beside me." And so, as the twin moons rose above the crystal oceans, both princess and human knew that the trials had tested more than skill and courage. They had begun to reveal the possibility of something far rarer: mutual respect, understanding, and the spark of connection that could bridge worlds. The galaxy watched, holding its breath. No one had expected a human to rise so far, yet Jace had done the impossible. And for Princess Lyra, the question was no longer whether a human could succeed. It was whether she could finally find someone who truly understood her, and perhaps herself. The Council of Planets sat in uneasy silence. The chambers, grand and shimmering with alien crystal light, were usually a place of confident decisions, firm traditions, and carefully calculated politics. Today, however, no one knew what to say. A human had succeeded where centuries of alien suitors had failed. Princess Lyra stood at the center of the chamber, her posture calm yet commanding. Beside her, Jace's presence was quiet but steady. The council's whispers had turned into heated debate. Some elders whispered of scandal, others of revolution. Choosing a human suitor was unprecedented, and dangerous in their eyes. Ambassador Thrin's molten body glowed more brightly than usual, signaling his anger. "This is intolerable," he rumbled. "A human has no place among the rulers of our galaxy. Princess Lyra, think of the consequences. Alliances will falter. Your people will lose respect." Lyra lifted her hand, silencing him. "I have considered the consequences, Ambassador. I am not choosing a partner for the Council's approval, for politics or for fear of gossip. I am choosing someone who can walk beside me as an equal." A murmur spread through the chamber. Many ambassadors were shocked. No princess had ever openly defied the Council in such a way. Ambassador Varric flapped his wings in agitation. "But Princess, a human is untested. Their planet is young, their species inexperienced. They may succeed in trials, but leadership is far more than surviving challenges. Can you risk your people's future on this creature?" Lyra's gaze hardened. "Leadership is not about power alone, Ambassador. Leadership is about wisdom, empathy, and courage. These traits cannot be measured by status or strength alone. Jace has shown all of these and more through the trials." The Council was divided. Some were beginning to recognize the truth. Humans, though underestimated, had a perspective and resilience that no other species could match, yet others clung to tradition and fear of change. In the midst of debate, a younger ambassador, a member of the telepathic Nirathi, spoke. "Perhaps the trials themselves reveal what the Council cannot see. The human has not only passed but excelled in intelligence, courage, and diplomacy. If a leader must be chosen, surely one who demonstrates such qualities deserves consideration." Others muttered in disagreement. Some plotted to find faults, pointing out minor mistakes Jace had made. But Lyra's voice remained steady, commanding attention. "I will not be persuaded by politics, tradition, or fear," she said. "Jace has faced trials meant to challenge the most advanced beings in the galaxy. He has succeeded not by force, not by cunning, but by empathy, intelligence, and courage. That is the true measure of worthiness." The Council's debate grew tense. Some elders suggested additional trials, arguing that the human might fail under even greater pressure. Others warned that such tests could be seen as cruelty, risking a diplomatic incident with Earth. Jace himself spoke, his voice calm but firm. "I do not seek to dominate, nor do I claim to be superior. I only ask to be judged by what I can do, not by who I am expected to be. I respect Princess Lyra and your council, but I will not be deterred by prejudice." The chamber fell silent. Even the most stubborn ambassadors could not ignore the truth in his words. He did not boast, he did not threaten. He spoke honestly, showing respect while standing firm. Lyra turned to the council. "We have seen enough," she said. "I will make my choice based on what I have witnessed, not on what others fear. I see someone who can rise above fear, who can think, act, and lead with compassion. That is all I need to know." Some ambassadors groaned in frustration. Thrin's glowing form flickered with anger. Varric's wings drooped in dismay. Yet quietly others nodded in recognition. Humans had long been underestimated, but perhaps there was strength in qualities the Council had ignored for centuries. Courage, intelligence, empathy, and creativity. The Council decided to convene a private vote. It was tense and prolonged. Voices argued for hours. Some cited tradition, others logic, and some the undeniable results of the trials. Yet every vote counted, and slowly the numbers began to shift. One by one, ambassadors who had initially opposed Jace's candidacy began to acknowledge his merits. Even some of the oldest and most stubborn members of the Council whispered agreements. He had passed trials that would have defeated the most confident alien suitors. He had shown ingenuity, calm under pressure, and respect for life. When the final vote was tallied, the Council was evenly divided. Half feared change, half recognized the human's potential. The deadlock threatened to delay Lyra's decision indefinitely, until she stepped forward. "I am the Princess of Aquila 9, she said, her voice clear and resolute. "I am not beholden to fear, prejudice, or outdated traditions. I will choose who I deem worthy, not by politics but by what I have seen with my own eyes. Jace has proven himself. I choose him." A gasp filled the chamber. Some ambassadors reeled, their faces twisted in disbelief. Others exchanged stunned looks, realizing that centuries of tradition had been broken in a single statement. Thrin's molten form flared in anger, but Lyra did not flinch. "This decision is final," she continued. "The galaxy has often underestimated humans. I, however, see their value. I see Jace's courage, intelligence, and empathy. That is why I choose him." Jace stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Princess Lyra, I'm honored. I will strive to meet the expectations you place on me, not for power or glory, but to walk beside you as an equal." Lyra smiled, a rare, warm expression. "That is all I ask, Jace. Together we will face whatever comes next, not as ruler and subject, but as partners." The chamber was silent for a long moment. Some ambassadors murmured reluctantly in agreement, while others seethed in private. The precedent had been set. A human, a once underestimated species, had been chosen by a princess to stand as her partner. Outside the council chambers, news spread across the galaxy. Some were shocked, some intrigued, and others outright dismissive. Yet one thing was clear: humanity had made its mark. For centuries, humans had been underestimated, seen as weak and inconsequential. Now they had proven that courage, intelligence, and empathy could rival, even surpass, the oldest alien traditions. Lyra returned to the palace gardens later that evening, Jace by her side. The twin moons rose over the ocean, reflecting silver light across the floating blossoms. Lyra's heart felt lighter than it had in years. She had faced pressure, doubt, and expectation, and she had chosen according to her own convictions. "You have changed more than just the council," she said softly. "You have changed the way I see what is possible in the galaxy." Jace smiled. "I only hope to continue doing so. I do not wish to change you, Princess, only to stand beside you and face challenges together." Lyra nodded, feeling a warmth she had never felt before. "I believe we can face anything together. The galaxy may doubt us, but we have something they cannot measure: understanding, trust, and partnership." Meanwhile, back in the council chambers, debates continued. Some ambassadors began to reconsider their prejudices against humans, realizing that they had judged too quickly. Others plotted strategies to undermine this unprecedented choice. But none could deny the truth. Jace had succeeded not through power or status, but through qualities that the galaxy had long ignored. Princess Lyra and Jace, however, were not concerned with politics or whispers. They focused on each other, on learning from one another, and on preparing for the challenges that lay ahead. For them, the Council's dilemma was not a threat. It was a sign that change was coming and that humanity, once underestimated, was ready to take its place among the stars. The twin moons of Aquila 9 shone brightly over the palace, reflecting silver light across the crystal oceans. Princess Lyra walked along the floating gardens, her mind alive with thought and anticipation. Today was the day that the galaxy would finally witness a new kind of partnership, a human and a princess, united not by politics or tradition but by understanding, courage, and mutual respect. Jace walked beside her, his human form small and unassuming among the elegant aliens who had gathered. Yet he carried himself with quiet confidence. The trials had been completed. The council had deliberated. And now the final ceremony would mark the beginning of something unprecedented in the galaxy, a human chosen as the partner of a royal princess. The ceremony took place in the Grand Hall of Aquila 9, a vast chamber of crystal and light floating above the sapphire oceans. Ambassadors from countless worlds had gathered, their expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. Some whispered about scandal. Others watched with cautious hope. Lyra stood at the center, her elegant fins shimmering in the ambient light. Jace stood beside her, calm but alert, ready to face the judgments of a galaxy that had long underestimated his species. High above, the ceremonial holograms displayed the history of the trials, highlighting each test Jace had completed: the labyrinth, Frostspire Mountain, the Viridian Jungle, the Void Passage, and the Trial of Unity. Every observer could see the accomplishments that had earned him this place. The eldest council member, a wise being named Orvath, spoke first. His crystal form pulsed gently as he addressed the assembly. For centuries, our galaxy has relied on tradition to guide our alliances and marriages among the royal families. Today, we witness something extraordinary. A human, a member of a young and underestimated species, has proven through courage, intellect, and empathy that they are worthy of standing beside a princess of Aquila 9. A murmur ran through the crowd. Many ambassadors had never imagined a human achieving such recognition. Even Thrin, whose molten form glowed with displeasure, could not argue against the evidence of Jace's trials. Orvath continued, "Let this union serve as a symbol of a new era. Not all strength comes from power, not all wisdom from age, and not all leadership from status. The human Jace has shown us that perseverance, understanding, and ingenuity can overcome even the greatest obstacles." Lyra stepped forward, her voice strong and clear. "I have chosen Jace not because he is from a powerful world, not because of wealth or influence, but because he has shown qualities that cannot be measured by technology or tradition. He has proven that courage, empathy, and respect are the true markers of strength." Turning to Jace, she smiled. "Will you stand with me not as a subject or a suitor, but as a partner, to face the future together?" Jace bowed slightly, his voice steady. "Princess Lyra, I will. I will walk beside you, not to lead or dominate, but to support, learn, and grow together. I will honor this choice with all my heart." A quiet, tense pause filled the chamber. Then slowly, applause and nods began to ripple through the council and the assembly. Some ambassadors clapped politely. Others erupted in enthusiastic approval. The idea of a human as a partner to a royal princess was no longer unthinkable. It was now reality. The ceremony concluded with a symbolic gesture. Lyra and Jace each held a shard of crystal from the palace gardens, combining them to form a single, radiant light. The light reflected across the chamber, symbolizing unity, trust, and the merging of worlds. Outside, the citizens of Aquila 9 watched in awe. Holographic projections displayed the event across the oceans and skies. The people had always respected their princess, but now they saw her wisdom and courage in choosing a partner not by status or power, but by the qualities that truly mattered. Over the following weeks, Lyra and Jace began working together on matters of diplomacy, exploration, and innovation. The princess introduced him to the traditions of her people, and Jace shared stories of Earth, of humans' resourcefulness and creativity. The combination of their perspectives led to new strategies for alliances, trade, and scientific discoveries. Even the alien ambassadors who had doubted Jace began to acknowledge his value. Some approached cautiously, seeking advice on leadership or negotiation, while others quietly studied his methods. Slowly, respect replaced skepticism. Humanity, once underestimated, had earned its place in interstellar society. Lyra and Jace's relationship grew beyond partnership. It became a true collaboration. They explored distant planets together, seeking solutions to environmental challenges, learning about alien cultures, and solving problems that had puzzled generations. Jace's ingenuity often surprised even the most advanced species, while Lyra's wisdom guided him in ways no human could have anticipated. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the crystal oceans, Lyra and Jace walked along the palace's floating gardens. The soft glow of bioluminescent plants lit their path. "Do you ever regret stepping forward?" Lyra asked softly. Jace shook his head. "Not for a moment. It was unexpected, and the galaxy may have doubted me, but I have found purpose, learning, and friendship beyond anything I imagined." "And you?" Lyra smiled, touching his hand. "You have changed more than the council, Jace. You have changed how we see strength, courage, and partnership. You have shown that even a human underestimated by many can rise to meet challenges thought impossible." Jace looked out at the moons. "Perhaps that is the human way. We are underestimated, yet we find ways to adapt, to survive, and to grow. Perhaps the galaxy will learn from us as we have learned from it." Lyra laughed softly. "Perhaps it will. And perhaps the galaxy needs that kind of perspective now more than ever." Over time, their union inspired other species to reconsider old prejudices. Humans were no longer seen as weak or insignificant. Their creativity, courage, and resilience became respected across worlds. The partnership between Lyra and Jace symbolized a new era, one where intelligence, empathy, and innovation were valued alongside tradition and power. In private, Lyra and Jace continued to grow closer. They studied together, explored new technologies, and discussed ways to help not just Aquila 9, but the entire galaxy. Their bond was one of equality and mutual respect, a rare partnership that inspired hope in a universe too often divided by fear and prejudice. One morning, as they watched the sun rise over the oceans, Lyra spoke softly. "Jace, when you first arrived, I did not know what to expect. The Council did not know what to expect, but you have shown that even the smallest, most underestimated beings can have the greatest impact." Jace smiled, taking her hand. "And you, Lyra, have shown that leadership is not about power or fear. It is about understanding, courage, and partnership. Together, perhaps we can help the galaxy see that." The twin moons reflected on the water, and the light of a new day stretched across the palace gardens. It was a beginning, not just for Lyra and Jace, but for a galaxy ready to embrace change, collaboration, and the strength that came from understanding one another. As ambassadors, citizens, and distant planets watched, the truth became clear. Humans were no longer underestimated. One human had stood beside a princess, not seeking domination, but partnership. And in doing so, he had proven that courage, intelligence, empathy, and ingenuity could shape a new era across the stars. The galaxy had begun to change. Traditions would be challenged. Prejudices would be questioned. And from the quiet determination of a single human and the wisdom of a princess, a new era was born. A future where the underestimated could rise, where strength came in many forms, and where hope stretched across every star.